mic off though, just so it doesn't like cut me off. I might just go in and mute some people. Oh, I don't even know how to do that. Just whilst we are waiting, would be quite cool if in the chat box anyone can put biggest insights from the first week slash how they're feeling going into the second week. Because I put something in the group chat about how you probably all feel a lot worse going into the second week than you did the first week. So yeah, that would be interesting to see. People just filtering in, and then I will start. No one needing a password this time, so that's good. Yeah, Louise, that's fine if you're keeping your camera off. Most people will just prop me up, listen. That's all good. Joe, feeling great. Stayed on track all weekend. Amazing. Lisa, feeling good. Had a down day, but I packed back up now. Thought I was going to struggle, but mindset has changed again. Amazing. First, one of the questions someone put in the group chat this only a couple of minutes ago was, how do I stay motivated? So I'll talk about that at the end because it's really hard, but tired but proud for sure. Good. We have 4.5 weeks to go. Right, I think I'm going to get going and just people can filter in if they want to. So
Please.
let me share my screen.
Wonder what I've had.
Anyone who's got their mic on, just pop it off just so it doesn't interrupt. Can I get a thumbs up? I can only actually really see Evie right now. Can you see my screen and everything? Yeah, fine. Right, let me just move you all up there. Cool. So last week we spoke about nutrition for fat loss. This week I want to speak about training and just some fundamentals with movement. Let me just get my iPad with my notes up. And let me plug that in because last time I had to do a switch to Charlie's laptop that's charging. Great. Right, training.
Business version bought it at the same time. He didn't have the
Ooh,
structure in place. So yeah, money would help.
Charlie, whoever that is, you could just mute
If people want to come, they will pay. Cruise ships aren't cheap anyway, so a small levy's not going to make
Lisa Franks, are you the culprit?
It is a massive coffee or lunch thing. But you wouldn't.
I don't want to start talking until that's gone off. So let me just.
Despite the issues, Shetlanders don't want to risk losing out on this vital source of income.
Charlie, there we go. Cool.
Yeah, sorry, I was trying to find her.
Also, I have no clue how to mute this person myself. Charlie, help. Right, okay. So last week we spoke about nutrition, and I started off by walking you all through the graph on how we burn calories. And obviously we spoke about how to be in a state of fat loss, you simply have to be eating less than you're burning. So we spoke about how to control calories in. We're now looking at calories out, because of course, if you manipulate the both by kind of lowering calories in and increasing calories out, you're going to increase your calorie deficit. So the main part of the same graph that I want to focus on today is this part, which is your NEAT. Somebody else. Can we just put your, yeah, on mute, cool. So I want to talk about NEAT, and then I'm also going to talk about this one up here. So it's no secret that steps are the fundamental thing for fat loss. And the part of the graph that says NEAT stands for non-exercise activity thermogenesis. So I want you to look at this as everything that you do outside of your exercise. So we burn a certain being your, because we require energy for our lungs to keep breathing, our heart to keep beating, our eyes to keep blinking, etc. But when we physically say get out of bed, walk to the bathroom, brush our teeth, walk to the fridge, walk to the car to drive to work. We are constantly burning calories, and this is what your NEAT is. This is what your non-exercise activity thermogenesis is. So essentially, the title of this was almost clickbaity, because you almost can't exercise for fat loss other than increasing your NEAT. So the most fundamental thing for exercise to increase how much fat you burn is by generally moving more. And that is why it's so important to use tactics like taking the stairs instead of the lift at work. Another like firm favorite is ours is using the furthest away toilet at work, like walk from one block to another, park at the end of the supermarket at Tesco's and walk more to the supermarket. So NEAT is something that I really want you guys to focus on. How can I just generally move more and be slightly less lazy? So that's the first fundamental part of exercising for fat loss. So bigger NEAT equals a bigger deficit equals more fat loss. And the reason why it's also so effective is because it's so easy. Like, you don't need to take really more time out of your day to just walk to a slightly further away toilet. It's just so much easier, and that's why it is the most effective way to increase your deficit. However, a lot of you come to us for fat loss, but I want you to start looking at it as you are wanting to change your body composition. You are not just looking for the number on the scales to decrease. You are looking for what contributes to your body composition to be less fat and essentially more muscle. And that is what I want you to view your training as. And right now I'm talking specifically about weight training. I am going to talk about cardio a little bit into this presentation. But the goal of training, specifically weight training, is to increase your muscle mass, and so change your body composition more so in the favor of muscle mass rather than body fat. And this, I don't know how much I believe this actual picture, but let's just roll with it. The reason we don't like people to focus too much on scale weight, although it is a good piece of data, it can be quite misleading, because you could have a very different body composition, but you could be the same weight. So let's take these two figures, for example, both 60 kg, take it with a pinch of salt, but very, very different in appearance. And that's because the figure on the right-hand side obviously has a lot more dense muscle mass and a lower body fat percentage than the figure on the left. So we are working to change your body composition in line with more muscle mass. Look at Charlie, bless him. So talking about weight training, the first thing I just wanted to quickly glide over was the benefits of weight training. You all pretty much know that. The first is increased muscle mass, which is obviously going to increase your strength, and that's really important, especially like with age, because muscle depletes with age. So if we can combat that, that's fantastic. Another really important one, and one that people often overlook, is that over time, if you consistently strength train, it's actually going to increase your metabolism. So if we look at your metabolism being the calories that you burn at rest, if you can burn more calories at rest, so burn more calories doing nothing, we're on to a winner. You're going to have a bigger calorie deficit. And so strength training increases that because we burn more energy when we have more muscle mass. So look at your resistance training as an opportunity to start to burn more calories at rest if you stay consistent with it. Don't get me wrong, it doesn't mean that after one set of squats you're going to be burning 100 more calories than before. It doesn't work like that. It's got to be consistent, but really important to keep in the back of your mind. Increased bone density, again, really important. More brittle as we get older, so we can kind of combat that. It's a stress relief. A bad day at work is arguably the best pre-workout. So you usually come away from a workout feeling 10 times better. You also never regret a workout, no matter if it was a bad one or not. We never regret it. So it's a stress relief. And then obviously aesthetics, and something that like you shouldn't be ashamed to admit. I don't particularly enjoy training. To be honest, I don't really enjoy training at all. But I want to look a certain way, and I'm not afraid to say that that is a reason why I train. So that's just some benefits of strength training. So how do we actually grow muscle? Let me just make sure on my notes I've not missed anything so far. I think I'm doing pretty good. No. So the actual fundamentals and like kind of mechanics of growing muscle is we lift a weight. If we lift it in a certain way, which I'll talk to you about in a moment, you're going to create little micro tears in your muscle. And then they're going to repair. You're going to eat your protein and you're going to repair those tears. And then suddenly your muscle will have got slightly bigger. Think about when you get like a cut on your hand. It heals, your new skin then grows over it, and it's great, whatever. It's the same with muscles. You create little micro tears, your body heals it, and in turn, your muscles then grow. That's why you feel sore after a workout, because you've created tears in your muscle. And then it disappears after 2 or 3 days, and that's the action of your body repairing it. So we want to know, how do we effectively create those micro tears in order to grow our muscles? And this is how. Keep it simple. So I don't know if any of you, and it would be interesting for anyone to put it in the chat box actually, was anyone surprised at how simple their workout structure was? And we preach this at potential, like, you know, us, me, Charlie, Evie, Eloise, Kate will always preach how training simply is the best form of training. And I've got some pictures to show you. So in terms of keeping it simple, there's really kind of like 5-6 different movement patterns that you need to ensure that you are doing, because we want to train our body as a whole. We will never give someone a program that is like literally focusing on one muscle group, because that's not training effectively. But there's different movement patterns. The first is a squat pattern, then a lunge pattern, and a hip hinge. So hip hinge being like your deadlifts. And that's mainly focusing obviously on the lower body. Then with your upper body, you've got your push movements. So like if you think about you're pushing away from your body, so like a chest press. And then you've got your pull movement, so where you're kind of bringing it into the body, e.g. a row. And then you've got your core. So in order to train effectively, you just want to make sure that you are engaging in exercises that engage each kind of muscle pattern, so movement pattern rather. So it'd be interesting, make note of these and then go into your workouts, and you'll see how we have programmed kind of one exercise from each movement pattern, or more if you train more, and we've kept it nice and simple. The goal is as simple as follows. The goal is to work until failure. So someone asked, is it best to do like low weight, high reps, or high reps, low, whatever? What you want to do is make sure that you are working until or as close to failure as possible, because your body is only going to create those micro tears in the muscle if you are taking a movement until failure. And by failure, what I mean is, let's say we're doing bicep curls. You're not just going to do your 8 reps and then go, right, I've done 8, I'm going to stop. You need to be choosing a weight whereby you're kind of like physically can't do that movement anymore. And then that is what we kind of call true failure. So in work anymore in each set. And if you do that, that is effective weight training. What is not effective weight training is pathetic exercises like this. And unfortunately, the second, I don't know if it was like a copyright thing or whatever, but the third picture wasn't showing. But you will see these like fad workouts on Instagram, and you're probably all like, yeah, we've done them once upon a time, where like you'll be doing squats into presses or like donkey kickbacks, or you're on the Stairmaster and you're kicking a leg back. Like that is going to do absolutely nothing for you. And that's because you're simply not going to be working till failure in these movements. Let's take this like squat to press, for example. My legs will be able to carry a lot more weight than what my shoulders will in a press. So I'm never going to work my shoulders. I'm never going to work my legs enough with the shoulders, with the weight that I can choose to work my shoulders. So that's why there's so much noise on social media about workouts and exercises that you can do, when actually you just need to keep it super simple, and your boring squat or your lunge or your shoulder press is really what you should be doing until failure. So if you ever get a PT that tells you to do a squat or a press, tell them they're absolutely wrong. Okay, so that's weight training. Essentially, keep it simple and work until failure. And one of the questions at the end is about, what if I don't have the weights available? And we'll cover that. So the thing I want to cover now is essentially about cardio. And the first topic that I want to address is why running isn't essential for fat loss, because you'd be shocked at the amount of like inquiries I get saying, I want to lose weight, but I hate running. Well, I can't run for more than 5 minutes without nearly being in cardiac arrest. So you absolutely don't have to. And the reason that running isn't the most effective form of exercise for fat loss is it can essentially decrease your NEAT. Going back to the start, NEAT being your non-exercise related activity. And it's for these reasons. Running's really strenuous. And once you run, you can get really tired. Like if I was to do a run, I'd be absolutely knackered for the rest of the day. And so I'm going to sit down more as a result of it. I'm probably going to have a nap as a result of it. And so my movement as a whole in the day will take a hit because I'm so tired from the running. So it can have a really negative impact on NEAT. It can also really spike your appetite. So again, if I was to do a run, I'd be absolutely, and I say we would probably be absolutely ravenous. And so it can in turn make you want to snack and want to binge and increase your calorie intake for the day, because again, you're just tired. So it can also make you sore. So you're just going to, again, be more sedentary because you're sore from the run. So I only want people to be running if they genuinely, love running. Because if you love running, then do it. And if they want to kind of increase their fitness level and their aerobic capacity, if that's not the drive for you to be running, then don't run. And that's on running. So I guess the question about is additional cardio good and how much additional cardio is good? Of course, if you move more and you do some additional cardio on top of your step goal and your NEAT that is already, then yes, additional cardio is great. It becomes too much if you are then absolutely fatigued for the rest of the day and you can't do anything else, or if it is spiking your hunger levels and making you go over your calories. Because then, yes, you might be burning more and you could raise your calorie amount, but no. So how much additional cardio is right? Enough to keep you within your calories and not make you kind of too fatigued to do everything else that you need to do. HIIT training. So something that we don't really ever program for anyone, but something that people might do in terms of like a YouTube video, and they might go to classes, is HIIT training. High intensity training, basically where you get a sweat on. HIIT training can be good because often we do it in classes, so you're kind of held accountable to turning up to those classes. I don't want to create like this thing that HIIT's bad. So a positive of HIIT training is often we do it in classes where you're held accountable and you have to turn up and you're more likely to do it. The negative of HIIT training is that for women who are menopausal and who have PCOS or some sort of hormonal imbalance, is that your cortisol is already slightly spiked. And cortisol, sorry, is our stress hormone. So your cortisol is already slightly spiked. HIIT training and technically running and anything really that gets you really out of breath and really sweaty is a stress on the body. And so it is going to create a kind of temporary spike in your cortisol levels. And so that paired with an already increased cortisol level can be negative for fat loss. And I'm going to go into that in a separate webinar about the reasons why, but it then can promote unwanted fat storage. So it's really important that if you have any hormonal imbalances, or you are a woman in the menopause or a perimenopausal woman, that you consider whether HIIT training is actually for you. That's on HIIT training. So key takeaways, and then I'm going to run through Q&A because there's some really good questions, and it's probably at this point that you could put any questions in the chat box if there are any. Key takeaways is look at your training as an opportunity to change your body composition and to increase your muscle mass, and do not look at your workouts as an opportunity to burn calories and increase your deficit. It is your steps and your general movement throughout the day that will contribute to your fat loss. Another key takeaway is that when we look at strength training, you need to be keeping it simple and following those kind of 5-6 movement patterns. And you need to be working till failure in those workouts. So you need to be lifting those weights until you physically cannot lift it anymore. If you are not, then you are not training the most effectively. I realize I've missed a slightly key point, but I do think it's in a question, but I'm just going to say it now before I move on. You also want to be looking at progression. So it is mega, mega important that we change the stimulus of the workout every kind of week, 2 weeks or whatever, by increasing weights or increasing reps or decreasing rest time. So just throughout this whole challenge, really be mindful of, can I add on to what I did last week? Can I make it heavier? Can I do more reps? Because that's really, really key. Okay, I'm going to do these questions and then I'm going to go to the, that's what keeps happening. That's why the little questions disappear. I don't know if, we can see it like that. Cool. So first question, warm up and stretching. This is the best warm up that you can do is kind of 5 minutes of walking to get the blood flow going around your body. If everyone's keen for a workout, I have some warm-ups, I have some warm-ups made, so I can add those to people's plans. But I would generally jump on the treadmill or do a 5-minute walk, or just star jumps if you're at home, like just get the blood flowing, and then do a lower weight or a body weight rep of the movement that you're about to do. So if you're about to do squats, just do some body weight squats before you go into your working sets as a warm up. Covered the higher reps, and then resistance bands. So this was interesting. Resistance bands are a great tool to use. They're cheap. You can take them anywhere, and they do add an element of resistance. So resistance bands is just adding weight. So yeah, they're fine, and we can absolutely add some resistance band stuff in. So if anyone wants some of that, just let us know in the Facebook chat, and we can add some. Obviously, you don't have as much scope as you do a dumbbell or a barbell because you can't really manipulate them in the same way, but they still add resistance. They are still fine. I've answered the question about cardio, so that should be all good. Best training for post-menopause. So off the back of obviously saying that HIIT isn't the best thing to be doing. The best thing that you can be doing is strength training to combat any decrease in muscle mass that comes with age, and increasing your low intensity cardio, such as your steps and general movement. Done about the resistance bands, so we can add those, absolutely. Should I be lifting heavy weights to really change your body shape? Yes. You can achieve really good fat loss by just focusing on your nutrition and your steps, and that will increase your calorie deficit. If you do that, however, and don't engage in any resistance training, then you won't grow any muscle. So technically, the only way that you can kind of change your body shape is by growing your muscles through resistance training. So yes, you can still do fat loss without your workouts, but you're not going to grow any muscle without your workouts. Stretches, spoke about that. So I can add those in for people if requested. Now, this was a really, really good question. If we only have light weights at home, how are we able to progressively overload, or does this not matter in the 6 weeks? It absolutely does matter, and there's some tactics that you can use. So you can first think about tempo. So tempo being speed. So if I was to stand in my living room right now and do a squat, but just do like a down for a second, straight back up, that is going to feel easier than if I counted to 4 as I was going down. So basically did the concentric part of the movement slower, and then also made it slower on the way up. That's going to feel 10 times harder. So a way that you can make it harder if you don't have heavier reps is by slowing the movement down, slowing it right down, count to 3, count to 4. You can also do higher reps. So there's so many like conflicting studies about, should I train higher reps, should I train lower reps, etc. If it requires 15 reps for you to hit failure, then you do 15 reps. You can also superset. So let's take the squats, for example. Let's say if you just had a 10 kg dumbbell and you could do 15 reps of those quite, not easily, but you could do 15 reps of those. What you could then do is drop the weight and pick up a 5 kg and go again. This is the principle of drop set. And then you can drop that weight and do body weight. And then suddenly you're adding a lot more volume to your workout, but without increasing the weights that you have available. Because trust me, if you drop set and you keep decreasing your weight, it's going to feel harder because your muscles will be absolutely knackered. So I'll write that out in a Facebook post, but they would be my key go-to. Drop sets, tempo, and just increasing the reps. Next one, in the mornings, would you recommend breakfast pre or post workout? Totally personal preference. I can't work out if I've eaten because I feel like it would come straight back up again. I may have a small snack before I go. But some people may feel really fatigued if they don't eat before. So kind of weigh up the pros and cons. If you feel like you're going to vomit if you eat before, then don't eat before, eat after. There is no massive benefit to like one or the other. Arguably, if you were really hench, there's like a window after your training that you might want to get some protein in, but it's going to make minimal difference. So whatever feels best for you. Could I have some advice with running? This is where I like running, because you're working towards a marathon, which is great. You're obviously doing it because you want to tick something off. Charlie can absolutely program stuff for you. I'm shocking at running programs, so I will hand that over to Charlie. He can do that later. And then the last question, before I just look at the chat box, is tips on dealing with the days where you're really unmotivated. And Charlie and I, just before this, saw this question come through. And he said, you can't focus on motivation. You have to focus on discipline. If you wait to be motivated, you'll never really do it. So wishy-washy, I know, but it's like set goals. think about what you're working towards. Do you have a target that you want to achieve in the next 4 weeks? If not, think about what that is and reverse count down yourself. Like, okay, I'm 4 weeks away from it now. I'm 3 weeks away from it now. Think about your big goal. And just remember that obviously you're not going to get anywhere without a little bit of hard work. So discipline really needs to come in there. So I guess our tips with motivation are have someone hold you accountable. At the moment, that's us. But tell your family, tell your friends, and set goals so that you have something tangible to work towards. That's those questions. Now I need to figure out how I get on the chat box. Here, there we go. Done that one, done that one, done that one. Jamie, you with your mic off. You with your mic off as well, Lisa. Exercise room's amazing, feels simple. I like that it's simple, otherwise you dread going. True. Is Pilates beneficial after what you've said around working till failure? Yes. Pilates is a bit of a trend at the moment, and it will probably die down over the next 6 months, but you are still working your muscles till failure in Pilates. I'm talking as if I've ever done a Pilates class ever. I haven't. But if I went to Pilates, I know I'd be really humbled. And you're working with just your body weight, but sometimes that's the only weight that your core needs. So yes, Pilates is effective, but just make sure that you are engaging in some other resistance training that is then working the whole of your body, because often it only really targets like your core or your glutes. Is it true that uphill, very fast-paced walking is better than running? Ish. That's probably someone said that from like a cortisol stress level point of view. Also what I was touching on about how running can just make you really fatigued. So just do what you enjoy more. Often that's incline walking for people. And perimenopause, but really love running. With what you have just said about cortisol, am I hampering weight loss by running more? If you are not getting results after 6 weeks and you have stuck to your nutrition and you have stuck to your steps still and everything's like kept up, then potentially don't stop it unless after 6, 8, 12 weeks of being good with calories and steps and everything, it hasn't changed. Because then you can look at like supplements like maybe ashwagandha and whatever. So potentially it's really hard to say though without looking at kind of individual results. When should I go up in weights? For example, I do 6 kg shoulder presses, the last 2 reps. I'm struggling with the last 3 reps. This is where drop sets can add volume and kind of push you into the next kilo bracket. Remember that often the hardest exercises to progress are the things that are really isolated and using really small muscles. So you're going to progress in a leg press quicker than you are in a lateral raise. I mean, I've been on like 5 kg lateral raises probably the last couple of months. So I would try to drop set. I would also pick up some heavier weights, and even if you can just do 2 reps of them, do it, and then go into like 6 to 8 of your working set of your normal, and slowly you will start to build and creep into, okay, I did 2 reps this week, but then next week you might be able to do 3, and then next week you might do a partial rep where you might basically do half a rep, and then suddenly you're into 4, and so on and so on. That's the tactic I'd take. Does it matter if you no longer get DOMs but are still training until failure? Yes. I hear this quite a lot. Oh, I don't ache after my workouts. You'll ache more on week 1 or 2 than you will in week 6, 7, 8. Normal. Just keep going. Just keep working till failure. Used to suffer badly but no longer notice it. Yeah, that's really, really normal. Does body weight count or does it have to be weighted? Body weight absolutely counts. You are still... Take a squat, for example. When I squat down, I am still basically pushing up the 60 kg that I weigh. Like that's still a weight. Pilates is still technically weighted because if you're doing a leg raise, you are lifting the weight of your leg. Like, it's still fine, but often it's not enough to work until true failure. What would you recommend someone who wants to look toned but not hard and still look soft? You are not going to look like Arnold after a couple of weeks of training. If it was that easy, we'd all be shredded. So I would recommend just holistic weight training. You will soon realize if you think you're getting too big, and then you can kind of tone down the volume. When filling the workout out on the app, I have 2 10 kg dumbbells. Do I write 10 kg for 12 reps or 20 kg for 12 reps? Do whichever, but keep it consistent. So you can either do the single weight of like one limb, or you can do the double weight for both, but make sure you track it the same each week. Consistent inconsistency. That is all. That's all the questions that I have. Yeah, I think that's everything. I don't think anything else is going to ping through. So I'll just put those couple of things on Facebook that I said I was going to do. I'm going to watch the recording and remind myself what I said I was going to post in the Facebook. Next webinar is about something that I've forgotten, but it's nearly 11 o'clock here, so my brain's now frazzled. Thank you everyone for coming. Any questions, pop them on Facebook, and have a great rest of your evening, and I'll see you all soon. Bye.